Good morning, and thank you for inviting me. And I want to thank Tim Whitfield from the Department of Justice also for inviting me here today. What I'm going to be talking about is Citrix Zen Mobile. Zen Mobile is the Citrix method for mobile device management. And today I'm going to show you what that looks like, how it works. This is the core of Justice MDM. I'm sure you've already been apprised of what that does and how that works, but in general, this is the core of how that works. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the details. So to kick us off, let's talk a little bit about the platform and why we need this in the first place. So users coming out of college and some older than that use their devices 24/7. They have something in front of them that is connected to the internet. They have an expectation that when they come to work, they're going to be able to use that device or some other combination of devices to get their work done. It is no longer, I think, valid to simply hand a new employee a desk with a desktop on it and say, this is how you get things done. So the users come into the organization and they say, look, I need to get my work done. Give me a device I can get that work done on, and I will use my own device when it makes sense to do so. So IT gets these user needs. They want the freedom to do what they need to do. And they say, okay, fine, but I need to be able to make sure that my department's information, when it goes onto that device, is under our control. They want to Facebook and Twitter and do all that other stuff. It's their device. They can do that. But my data can't mix with that. Not only that, but applications that I choose to make available to those users have to be within our control. It's actually it's a rational way of looking at it, but it turns out it's very difficult to do. How does IT lay down the law, set up the data security, and give the user the tools they need to do it? They do it with Zen Mobile. So Zen Mobile is an entire universe, if you will, of applications and servers that can control every aspect of projecting data out to the mobile workforce. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the core of that capability, which is the device management piece. At any point, we can certainly talk about extending what device management can do in your organization, but for today's conversation around Justice MDM, we'll stick with device management. Sorry, a little bit of bragging here, but Zen Mobile and primarily Zen Mobile MDM got Citrix into the leaders quadrant for mobile device management and device management in general. Very proud of this fact. It says a couple of things. A, obviously that it is a forward-thinking technology, but also that there are enough customers who like it and to say good things about it that it is also going to have that sort of ability to execute quotient added to it. So this software comes from a tradition by Citrix for providing best of breed software platforms for data management. So again, this slide is going to talk to you about a series of features that we can accomplish. Today we're going to concentrate on this first one, which is how to configure and how to manage in general the devices that are coming into your department. The demo that I'm going to kick off here in a second talks about the entire life cycle of that device's work life, if you will, inside your department. So how it gets enrolled, how data is secured, how it's provisioned, etc., etc. How do you support that device? And frankly, how do you remove it? Are all things that I'm going to go ahead and show you here. So let's get out of the talking and get into the doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and fire up the iPad and display that to you. This is an iPad mini. There we go. So let's pretend I'm a user for a second. I got an email from my department that said, hey, you now have access to this new software that's going to manage your device. Your device is now capable of joining our organization, and you can start using that with real data. And in order to do that, the first thing you need to do is go to the Apple Store and go get this Enroll application. Pretty simple enough. It's free. They click on it. And what happens is they get this nice welcome screen. They can go ahead and click Enroll. They're going to go ahead and use their standard Active Directory credentials for this because they've been pre-entered. The server can be pre-populated from the email, but in this case I'm going to do it manually. And then it's going to ask for their Active Directory password, the same one they log on to every day. Then a series of things happen. All of them basically the user just clicks next. So the first thing, install the device profile. That's fine. Install. Install now. This passcode is a requirement, or at least I suggest it's a requirement, to be on the device so that your information has at least a layer of security to it. You can make this more severe if you wish, but in this case I'm just asking for a 4-digit PIN. Off it goes. Second thing is hit the number 2. And a couple of things are going to happen now. The first thing that's going to happen is the policy set that you've defined for this device. And that can be because that user is in a certain group, that user has a certain kind of device, etc., etc. It's all up to you as to how this happens. But in this case, the policy sets come down. The second thing it's going to do is, as an IT department, we have chosen a series of 4 applications we believe ought to be on every device of this type. Again, that's by Active Directory group. I'll go ahead and do that. Install. Of course, it's Apple, so you have to put in the Apple ID or the password for that ID. As with any application. And before anybody asks, yes, we do support 2-factor authentication. I have to say install on for every one of these applications that I'm putting on. There we go. These are the ones loading. Citrix receiver ought to be familiar with anybody who's used Citrix before. Go to meetings there. Works Home, Adobe Acrobat. These are Pretty standard things, certainly in the Citrix world, but you'll have a set of your own. And that's it. I am now under management, and everything that is important to have on this device has been downloaded to it. So let's go ahead and see what this thing looks like from an IT perspective. So what we have here is a screen that shows you what the status of this device is. For instance, notice that it is green, under managed. That means it's a managed device. Has other aspects of the device, first connection, last authentication, who it's tied to, etc., etc. Some basic information about what's going on. There are a series of policies that I could have set. I put those together into a policy set. And for instance, I'll show you a couple examples of those. So for iOS, and remember there's some policy capabilities for iOS that are separate from Android or Symbian or Windows Phone 8, etc. But these are the ones that my colleagues have created. Let's go to Ron's restrictions. I know it's pronounced Ron, spelled Ran, just the way it is. All right. Go ahead and hit edit. Some identifications here. Here are some of the restrictions that he's been able to set. One of those, the only one he's really denied, is the allow use of camera. So you can turn the camera off. These are device level restrictions that you can set. You can restrict the use of certain applications that are native to the iPhone. You can allow or not allow connections to iCloud. All right, so you're getting the basics of how that works. There's other capabilities. For instance, you might want to add into your policy a push down of Wi-Fi details. All right, so when the user is under management, a hidden network, for instance, might be automatically pushed down, and that device might automatically connect as soon as it gets in range. These are the kinds of policies that you can set and then push down, and they're not mutually exclusive. So as many as you have, you can go ahead and do. And again, this can be specific to the device, specific to a user in this device, or specific to a group, an AD group, and the users in that group and devices that they might have. So it's very granular on how these policies work. Now let's say we get to the point where it's time for XM M. Lonergan to leave the organization. Or let's say that M. Lonergan left his iPad in the taxi cab again. So IT gets the call, says, well, this device is lost, or Mr. Lonergan is not going to be with us anymore. What can we do? Well, here's what we can do. We can go ahead and come down to security and choose to do a full wipe of the device. That means everything's gone, including private information. Or I can use a selective wipe. If I hit the selective wipe, this will just get rid of the corporate information or the organizational information that's on that device. Effectively, everything I just put on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, say yes, and I can't turn the iPad on fast enough to show you what I want to show you. I can only show you the effect. In other words, the Apple network, APNS network, has already notified my device of what's going on, and you'll notice that those applications that got downloaded are already gone. And if I go over here to settings, you'll also notice that no longer is this device under management. There's no profile associated with this device. This is now back to my personal device as if it were never